when you rank the most important factors, more like GPA, STEM competitions, good essays, recommendation letters, and other extracurriculars you might have. So if you could rank them at as importance, that would be important for the audience.
Number one thing that the admissions committee is going to look at is your grades. They're going to look at your transcript and they're going to count how many A's you have, how many B's you have, how many C's you have, and you're going to get 10 points for every A you have, 8 points for every B you have, 4 points for every C you have. And that's just going to go that's just how it goes down. Like Parker mentioned earlier, this is not a college admissions process. You don't really get into like that holistic process until you get into waitlist stuff. They admit people based on a rubric, and if you don't fit the rubric, then it's unfortunate for you, but that is just how it is. But by far the most important thing that they are going to look at is your grades, followed by probably the rigor of your schedule. Then they're gonna want to look at your essays and interests, awards, SAT score, that.
And I just got a question to me about the importance and value of academic competitions on the NCSM application, and some of the other panelists can talk about it in terms of like the rubric, but I can just share that I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the AMC math test, because I'm really into math. I took part in many math competitions, and my scores would definitely put me in like the top 3 for my year 10th graders that would be applying to NCSM. But that definitely was not enough to get in. I think the panelists had said earlier that basically on the rubric, they just check off to make sure you are involved with some competitions. I'm not sure how much it matters exactly how well you place at the competitions, and you definitely should not make that like a strong point of your application.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Michael here. Competitions, like I know probably a lot of you in this webinar have been participating in some sort of competitions, maybe Science Olympiad or other things like that. I feel like it shouldn't be something that you skip over, obviously, but like Michael said, don't focus your entire application around that one competition, because you're not the only person that does STEM competitions that's applying. There are many people applying to NCSSM that are doing the same thing. Now, I mean, if you really are getting first place in everything that you do in your competition, then yeah, I'd probably brag about that for a little bit, but be reasonable in your reference to them. And I just got a question saying, would you say Model UN is a competition? I would say so. I'm not entirely sure about how Model UN works, but I'm fairly certain it is like an actual competition, right? It's not necessarily a science competition. Whatever competitions you guys do, they're gonna check the box if you do it. So talk about them a little bit, but focus on your other extracurriculars, a lot more on community service and leadership roles and that type of stuff for your application. But do talk about these things, yes.
And if I can just reiterate what some people said in my fellow panelists, but grades are the one thing that is common among all applicants. So although extracurriculars can very much help your application, they look at grades primarily because it's the one thing that every single applicant has. Same with the essays, they try to tell you apart by your essays because everyone has control over those essays. Obviously, someone from different areas might have more opportunities or more chances to do research or other competitions than other people from other areas. So they mainly look at your grades, or just like the why they look at your grades is because everyone has them, and it's a way they can differentiate applicants apart.
And about the grades, the other panelists can talk about this. Maybe they know. I don't know if they care about your number grade over your letter grade. I know I had all A's. However, they were all like very low A's. It looks like they don't care, but yeah, if one of the other panelists could share their opinion on that.
Yeah, so Michael, they do not care about what type of A you're getting. So at my school, we had A pluses and A minuses that affected our GPA. An A plus is an A, an A minus is an A when NSTEM looks at it. And because they look at your transcripts rather than your GPA, because my school calculates the GPA differently than other schools. And so they mainly look at, was your grade an 89.5 or higher? If it was, it's an A to them, and so on and so forth with B's and C's. So don't worry about if you have 91 versus a 96 or a 99 in a class. It's all an A.
I got an important question, sorry. So if we have activities that will be starting after the application deadline, like competition results coming out in March or clubs we will be starting next year. So those kind of things, so currently you guys are going to be, your application is on CFNC right now. Eventually after January 15th, you'll get like an email of, their, and then you'll be given like your uni app credentials, which is their own like little admissions, like the final steps of the admissions process, that's separate from CFNC. The way that's where you're going to put in your teacher recommendations. So while your teacher recommendations are not due on January 15th, I would definitely be contacting your teachers over break. You are able to use sophomore year semester 2 teachers if you do wish to have them for either your English or your STEM recommendation. And I'm assuming that the recommendation is the same as it was last year, but just like start contacting them, say like, hey, I'm applying to science and math. This is something that I'd like you to do. I'm not super clear on what the recommendation involves, but I assume it's like a couple of questions and then they might. And no, they do not care if it's from freshman or sophomore year. And there is going to be a box or like an area in the Uni app website where you can enter in awards or achievements that happen afterwards. You like put a little date and then a little description of like, hey, like I know something that I did was that I had gone on, like I was selected to go on a dream big trip the very end of February before everything got shut down. So I was able to put like February 29th, 2020, I was selected to go on this because I did this. And you're able to do that. And that was after the application was due, but they have because they acknowledge that like different, like your life doesn't stop at January 15th. And for Caroline, who sent me a message of, are grades by semester or are they final grades? So that depends on the way that your school works, I guess, in the sense that if you were at a school like me who does full year, I know that they wanted they wanted the quarter 2 semester, and then they wanted when I went to Discovery Day, they wanted my quarter 3, or not quarter 3. They basically want a report card, like whenever I went to Discovery Day. But I think someone else who was in a semester schedule talk on that.
Yeah, I got you. For a semester schedule, I believe for the transcript. Wait, do you guys submit the transcript in the actual application, or is it afterwards? In the application itself, right? So I believe when we got a transcript for a semester school, so you have 4 or 5 classes, however many, in the first semester, it'll update your scores, like your grades at that point in the school year, and you're effectively at the end of the semester anyway. So it's whatever your grades are at that point in sophomore year, and then obviously your freshman year grades go in.
All right, so
All right, I got one last question about Counselor Rex. So Counselor Rex is typically, it's going to be some sort of like guidance counselor, so like some sort of academic counselor is typically what they're looking for, is if I remember correctly. Again, take all of our words with a grain of salt because we're not the admissions team, we're students. But typically it's your guidance counselor, and a great way for them to get to know you is sending them an email over this break, say, hey, I'm doing this, and also send them your resume of like your list of activities that you've done, because that helps them, and your essays, because if the admissions team is getting to know you through your essays, so you can your counselor, and it's always good to have another person look at them. But because my question was because my counselor doesn't know me very well, and that's fair. But start that conversation with your counselor now before they have to submit their recommendation. And again, there is no like number of like activities and extracurriculars. You want quality over quantity, and you don't want like, I'm in 20 clubs but I don't do very much for them. You want to say, I'm really committed to X, Y, and Z. And yes, you probably do want to send it to your teacher's recommendations. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat as but yeah.